Hi folks, I'm recording this video on Monday evening, 18th of September. It's actually my birthday, so spend my birthday on doing FPL things. It's the only way I would have it. Game week 5 is done and dusted, so as I do every week, once the game week's finished, I update my watch list. And I'm gonna try and do this every Monday from now on, or if there's a Monday night fixture, I'll probably end up doing it on a Tuesday. But the fixtures are all done and dusted now, so I'm gonna quickly look at how my team got on first of all, and then I'm going to jump in and get through the watch list as quickly as I can. I'll do it the same as I did last week. First of all, I'll players from the watch list that I don't think should be there anymore, and then I'll go team by team and add the players that I think should be there. So as you can see, 55 points in game week 5. Could have been a lot worse. Mkhitaryan and Lukaku saved my game week in the end up. They made me sweat right to the end, but thankfully they came good. Game week rank of almost 3 million, so not great, below average. But as far as points go and rank wise, after 5 game weeks, I'm pretty happy. 279,000, so not high after 5 game weeks. So it's a very good platform to build on going forward. So as I say, I'm pretty happy. I've only made 4 transfers so far this season. I put a tweet out today showing what those transfers were, and every one of them have been a success so far. So I'm nailing the transfers at least, so that's something. And I haven't taken any hits yet, which is something I kind of came into the season hoping to do, was just to cut back on the amount of hits I took last season. So far so good in that sense. Looking at it, game week 5 quickly. As I say, Mkhitaryan and Lukaku saved me. I'm getting all my happy birthday posts on Facebook. Hopefully not too many of them come up. So yeah, look, Mkhitaryan and Lukaku did the business, and Matt Ritchie. Matt Ritchie was my transfer in for game week 5. So yeah, I brought him in for Ward-Prowse. So he paid off, 2 assists. He came into game week 5 with 2 assists in the previous game. So that's kind of what swung in my favour. He was taking all the set pieces, and he's probably on penalties as well, so that's why I brought him in. I know he does like a yellow card, but thankfully he avoided one in game week 5, and hopefully he can behave himself a bit more now going forward. So he's got 4 assists in his last 3 games. Pretty impressive stats. I'm pretty happy to own him now. I'm glad I got him in to get his 2 assists. Kane blanked again as captain. Very frustrating. I watched the highlights of the game. First of all, Ben Davies. I had Ben Davies starting. Sutner subbed in for him, so Davies didn't play because of an injury he picked up in the Champions League. Very frustrating because Spurs picked up a clean sheet, so that would have been nice for Davies. So owning the Spurs trio was pretty frustrating. When Kane probably should have had a penalty or 2 to take, but they were turned down. Eriksen didn't do anything either. Fabianski made a very good save as well from Kane. So all in all, it was a pretty frustrating captaincy pick. But if I was doing it again, I would have picked him, captained him again. So no real regrets going him over Lukaku, because that's the way I wanted to go. Close to blanking himself, only for the late flurry. So Firmino is a player who's, I wouldn't say he's on the chopping block yet, but I've had him from game week 1. And he's probably a player that if he, that's 2 blanks in a row now, and he's coming off early as well, which is not ideal. So he's a player it's in the back of my mind to move him on soon, but it probably won't be this week. I wasn't sure whether to start Foster or Elliott. I went for Elliott in the end because he came into it with 2 clean sheets in a row, whereas Foster didn't have. He conceded in his previous 2 games, and of course Foster ended up getting a clean sheet, but there was only a 2 points difference in those 2, so I don't really mind too much. Bertrand, Southampton got their 3rd clean sheet in 5, so I'll probably hold on to him. They've got United next, I think, but after that the fixtures are very good for Southampton, so I'll be holding on to Bertrand as well. Player block now. They no clean sheets this season for Bournemouth. He got his goal against Man City, but I had him on the bench that week, so he's done nothing for me really. He's very likely to be on his way out for me this week. He's pretty sure he's got difficult enough fixtures coming up as well, so he's more than likely to transfer out this week. But there'll be more on that, and I'm planning to do a video on Friday, which will hopefully be a live transfer video answering a few questions as well from Twitter, and I'll have a look at the money leagues and that as well. But I want to focus on the watch list in this one. So yeah, that's a quick rundown of how game week 5 went. I mean, I was happy enough in the end up. It could have been disastrous if Mkhitaryan and Lukaku didn't do something in that game. So I'm happy enough to just take the 55 points and move on. As I say, happy enough in my rank so far, and transfer-wise things are going well. So I've still got the wild card in my back pocket. A lot of people are asking me when I'm planning to use it. I don't have a plan to use it. I'll use it whenever I feel. At the moment, I'm pretty happy with the squad. There's no major surgery required, so I'll hold on to the wild card for the time being. And as I say, I don't really have a set plan. I'll use it when if I run into a few injuries and suspensions or things like that, or there's just players banging form that I need to get in. But for now, I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. So the first thing I'll do is I'll jump into my current watch list, and I'll remove any players from it that shouldn't be there anymore. So I do this every week. Once the game week's completed, I go through each team and update the watch list. So as you can see, I've got 30 players at the minute on the watch list. So I'm just going to have a quick check on how those players did in game week 5 and whether I should remove any of them. What I always do is I hit round score. That way I can see how they've done in the most recent game week. So that's kind of what I'm judging them on the watch list. So I'll start with defenders. Quite a lot of them did quite well. A lot of them have clean sheets. So a lot of these guys are going to be staying on the watch list. One who impressed me in game week 4, it was playing as a wing back. He got 9 points. That's 2 clean sheets in a row for West Ham now. So that's kind of unheard of. I don't know if they can keep that up, but he's on the watch list. I'm not going to be bringing him in yet, but he's one I'm thinking about, especially if he stays as a wing back, because he's been taking set pieces as well, so he's very attractive. Lascelles has got 2 goals in 2 games now. He's a big threat from set pieces, and Newcastle are capable of keeping clean sheets as well, so he's quite an attractive option at 4.6. The likes of Alonso, Kolasinac, those guys are always going to be on my watch list if they're not on my team. They're expensive, but they're players I'll be looking to bring in probably soon. Both got a clean sheet at the weekend. Both very good going forward, offer an attacking threat. So those two are always in my thoughts. It's just getting the right time to try and fit them in without having to do too much surgery, like taking hits. So I'm trying to avoid that as much as I can. I'm happy enough without them for the time being, Kolasinac and Alonso, but when it comes to wildcard time, those two will definitely be, I'll be trying to squeeze them in if I can, at least one of them anyway. Jones is a player I'd love to get in. I actually had a quick look just today at a possible transfer for next week, but I'm 0.1 short, of course, the dreaded 0.1 for Jones. So I won't be able to go straight from Daniels to Jones, which is pretty frustrating because that would have been my transfer this week. So I'm going to have to look elsewhere. But as I say, it'll be Friday when I talk about the potential transfers. I'm not going to go through each player here. I'm just going to one or two. Schindler, that's 2 games now for Huddersfield where they haven't kept a clean sheet, and they've got a tough run of fixtures in Liverpool in their next 5. So he's a player I'm not really interested in for the time being, although he's been very impressive from the watch list for now. I might have a look at him again down the line once they get the fixtures out of the way. Aurier is another one I'm going to remove. Trippier started ahead of him at the weekend, so he's not first choice yet. I do expect him to be first choice, but until he is, and until I see a couple of starts from him, I'm not really interested. I've already got Ben Davies as well, so there's no point having him on the watch list, really. Wimmer I'll keep there because he's cheap. Midfielders, I'm just going to check if there's anyone I want to remove. So I'm going to remove Ali from the watch list because I've already got triple Spurs. I've got Davies, Ericsson and Kane, so I don't have space for another Spurs player, and I'm happy with those 3. that Spurs trio. It's a holy trinity, I like to call it. I know some other people like to call it that as well. It's nice owning Davies, Eriksen, and Kane. Obviously, it's nice when Davies plays, but I'm not really interested in Ali at the moment. He's got 2 blanks now, and I've got Eriksen, and I favour Eriksen over Ali, so that's why I'm removing Ali from the watch list. Doesn't mean he's not still a good option. He's just not for me at the moment. Coutinho came back and played, I think, around 78 minutes. So I on as well, but I'll need to see a bit more from him before I bring him in. Salah's the man from Liverpool. He's my #1 choice from Liverpool. Even when Mane's back, I've been very, very impressed by Salah. And he's got the stats. He's got 3 goals, 2 assists. If I didn't have any Liverpool players and I was looking to get one in, he would be the man I'd be going to. It's just, he plays on the shoulder all the time. He's got pace to get in behind, and he can score. He can finish. So he's the one I'd be looking at. I've got Firmino, so I'm not really interested in a double up at the moment for Liverpool. So I'll say I'm not really overly happy with what Firmino's doing, but for now I'm happy just to go with him. Brady got an assist. He's going to get more with his set pieces, but I'm happy with Richie in that price bracket for now. Knockout's another one. He's not doing much yet, but I do expect him to do more. When I go into the team-by-team analysis, I'm probably going to be adding Pascal Gross to the watch list this week. So I'm just going to look to see if there's anyone I want to remove here. Chalobah, I think he's worth keeping there because he's cheap. He's a good option at 4.5, so I'm going to keep him on the watch list. Richarlison, he's been on the watch list basically since game week 2, but he's just not doing enough at the moment to warrant a place. So he's only got 1 goal in 5. So I just need to see a bit more from him before I consider him, and I'm going to remove him from the watch list this week. Who else is there? Choupo-Moting. I'm going to keep him there. He was very impressive against United. He didn't do anything in game week 5, but I'm going to keep him on the watch list for now. Likewise, Antonio's test, but he's not producing any attacking returns really in the last 2 games. But he's another player I'd kind of be expecting more from him over the next few weeks. Fixtures are good as well, apart from Spurs really. So it's just the price that kind of puts me off, and the fact that he plays for West Ham. Sanchez and Hazard are always going to be on the watch list as well if they're not on my team. Same as Kolasinac and Alonso. I mean, Sanchez has started on the bench again at the weekend, as did Hazard. So I need to see first of all that they're fully fit, and I'd like to see a bit of form from them as well before I bring them in. Those 2 are probably going to be more so for a wild card in a couple of weeks' time, because it's going to take a bit of surgery to put either of them into the team. So now, moving on to strikers. Vardy scored again. He's doubtful, but he's always in my thoughts because he's in form. He's on penalties, and I expect Leicester to score enough goals this season. And he's usually involved when they do score, so he's a good choice in my opinion. He's a player I'd probably be looking at if I'm going to replace Firmino anytime soon. Jesus, obviously Aguero is the man of the moment this weekend with his hat-trick, and I'll be adding Aguero to the watch list when I get to Man City in a little while, but Jesus is definitely staying there as well. It could easily be him who gets the hat-trick next week. I think he's got 4 goals in his last 3 now. Yeah, 4 and 3. He's been coming off early, which is not ideal. I don't like owning players who come off early, but look at his stats. He's doing the damage before he comes off, so you can't really complain. If I don't have any Man City players, but if I do go for one this week, I'd probably still be looking at Jesus over Aguero. I know Aguero's got his hat-trick, and a lot of people are going to be jumping on him now, but I still probably favour Jesus just for that 1 million cheaper. And as I say, it could be him next week who gets the hat-trick. Couple of players I'm going to remove here. Lacazette is one. He's come off early in the last, well, look at that. He's only played 90 minutes once this season. He's got 2 goals, but as I say, I don't like a player who comes off early, and he's not really producing the goods either. So I'm going to remove him. I'm pretty happy with Lukaku and Kane, so I'm not really looking for another big striker anyway. So I'm happy enough to get rid of him for now. Rooney's another one. He's not really doing enough. he's not doing enough on the pitch anyway. He seems to be enjoying himself off it, but he's just I don't. From what I've seen with him, he's dropping deep quite a lot, and he just doesn't seem to have that sharpness that he had before. Maybe in the first 2 games he looked pretty sharp, but I guess if you're out till all hours of the morning, form's going to be affected. So, I mean, Everton are just really struggling in general. So, I'm not interested in any Everton players for the time being. Relegation zone now after all the money they spent in the summer. So, until they show signs of improvement, I've got no interest in Everton. Salou had an absolute shocker at the weekend. He should have had a hat-trick really, but just ballooned it over the bar, scuffed it. So I'm going to keep him on the watch list though, because he has been putting the stats in, he has been getting shots, and he probably will come good soon. I'm never going to double up though with Richie. I've got Elliott as well, so a triple up on Newcastle just it doesn't sound right. Abraham's another player I'm going to remove from the watch list. He's just not doing enough. He's only got 1 goal. He came off early. Boney is probably going to affect his game time now as well. We'll play together, but you've got Ayew as well, and there's a lot of competition there. I don't like strikers who don't play 90 minutes. So Abraham's gone from the watch list. Chicharito and Morata, I'm going to keep those 2 there. They still interest me, so I'm down a wee bit now before I add any new players. I've got 23 players now on the watch list. So what I'll do now is I'm going to jump in team by team, and I'll do it as quickly as I can, get through it, and let you get away. I've got a new microphone. This is the first time I've used it, so I'm hoping that the sound is coming through better than the previous 2. I know it was very bad in the previous 2, but hopefully going forward now it's going to be better, and I'll get sorted with webcams and everything else as well. First of all, Arsenal. So as I say, I'm always on round score. I'm checking what they've scored in the most previous game week, and I'm adding any players to the watch list that are of interest to me. So I've already got Kolasinac as a defensive option on my watch list. So I'm probably not going to add any of the other Arsenal defenders because he's my preference, and he's not too much more expensive than the others. Midfielders, Ramsey. He's not really doing it FPL-wise, but he's passing the eye test. He played very well against Chelsea. I'm pretty sure he hit the post, actually. He's playing pretty advanced, and he's getting chances. I think they're okay. Yeah, 2 home games, West Brom, Brighton, and Watford, Swansea. So he's still only owned by 3%. He's definitely an option. I'm going to add him to the watch list. More than likely, I won't bring him in this week, but he's worthy of a place on the watch list for his performance against. Sky Sports gave him man of the match in that one. Anybody else jumping out of me? I've got Sanchez on the watch list already. Through injury, he's a fraud anyway in FPL. He's never on the watch list. I've absolutely no interest in him because bring him in, he's just not consistent. He always has the stats. He creates as many chances as anyone, but he just doesn't convert them into assists and goals, or maybe other people don't convert them into assists. So no interest to me. Striker wise, I took Lacazette off the watch list. None of the others interest me, so I'm just going to jump into the next team. Bournemouth got their first win on Friday night, so hopefully that should kickstart them now. I think they've got a tough run of fixtures now, though. As I say, I've got Daniels on my team, and he's probably going to be leaving because there's no clean sheets there, so I don't really want to just be dependent on attack and returns from him. Tough fixtures, 3 away in the next 5. Say Leicester, Everton. So yeah, he's going to be a popular transfer out this week for anyone who owns him. I wouldn't be touching any of the Bournemouth defence or even the goalkeeper at the moment, given the fixtures. And form-wise, they haven't really been great either. Sermon scored. Doesn't interest me really, though. He never really scores. I've got 2 assists from the bench. I need to see starts from him before I add him to the watch list. So yeah, there's no one else really there. I mean, Defoe got his first goal this season. How many is he capable of scoring? He doesn't play 90 minutes either, which is not ideal. I know he came into the season with an injury, so it's probably taken him a while to get going. But with Defoe, even though they've got tough fixtures, he's the kind of player who just go on a run now and score 5 in the next 5. So he is a player I always like to keep on the watch list. About fixtures too much with him, but I am happy enough to go with Firmino probably for another week or two. So I wouldn't be bringing Defoe in just yet. But I mean, if you can get a goal against Everton, that'll be 2-2. Then I might maybe have more interest in him, because I do think he's still got, even though he's pushing on in age, I do think he can score 15 goals this season. Last season's hero, he's not really doing much this season. I prefer Defoe over King this season. Brighton got beat by Bournemouth on Friday. There's only one player I'm going to add here. It's going to be Gross. I mentioned him in last week's video. I said I would need to see a bit of consistency with him. So he's returned now in 2 games in a row. So that's enough for him to go on the watch list. He passed the eye test as well against Bournemouth. He was pretty good. Creates a lot of chances. I know he created a lot in the Bundesliga last season. So he's added to the watch list. Suttner's already in my team. I'm probably going to hold on to him for another couple of weeks. I'm just going to have a look at the fixtures. They're not great. I don't know if I'm going to play him yet against Newcastle because I've got Ritchie, so I don't really want to be playing Suttner if I've got Ritchie, but I'll talk about that in Friday's video. I mentioned before, Duncan Duffy are a threat from set pieces, but I've got Suttner and I'm happy enough with him. So I've added Gross to the watch list. Knockout's already on the watch list as well. If I was making a decision on those two going into game week 6, I'd probably be on the side of Gross now, just because he's cheaper as well. So I mean, I do think Knockout can score highly this season, but going on form, which you always have to consider, I would go for Gross at the moment. Nobody else really interests me from Brighton. They're very light up front. I don't really see Hamed scoring too many goals. I really thought they would bring in a striker before the deadline, and I just think they're really going to struggle now because they didn't. Burnley got another good point away from home against Liverpool. He played very well. He played well when he came on in game week 4 as well. He does look like a very able deputy for Heaton, who's going to be out probably for a few months. He's only down by 0.2%, so he could be a bit of a differential. Enough with Foster and Elliott for now, so I'm not really looking to change my goalkeeper. But if anybody is looking to change a goalkeeper, I think Pope could be a good option at 4.5. We know Burnley can be very good at home. They're good for clean sheets. And there you go. They've got 3 home games in the next 5. Huddersfield, West Ham and Newcastle. So they're well capable of keeping clean sheets in those games. So don't rule out Pope. And as I say, he's only owned by a few people. So if he did get a few clean sheets, he could help you move up the rankings. I've got Ben Mee in my team, and he was very unlucky not to score. He had at least two chances at the weekend. And it's not the first time this season that he's had chances. He's getting chances. He's a big threat from set pieces, and I expect him to get on the score sheet pretty soon. So I'll be holding on to him. Pope, I'm expecting a few clean sheets from him over the next few weeks. At 4.5, I think he's a good option. I think he's probably the best of the Burnley defensive options as well. They're all priced the same. My defender, I would be going for Ben Mee, just from what I've seen in the last couple of weeks. I mentioned before, I'm not really interested in any Burnley attackers, whether it be midfield or up front. The only one. He got his assist, so I think that's 2 assists now this season. Yeah. Fixtures are okay, so I'm pretty sure he's already on the watch list and he's staying there. So more than likely I won't be bringing him in, but decent option. I just don't see Burnley scoring very many goals, so I don't really bring in strikers from teams that I don't really see scoring many goals. That's why I'm not really interested in Chris Wood or any of those. Next up, Chelsea. I don't have any Chelsea players at the moment. Alonso is the one I'm looking at defensively for obvious reasons. It's just financially trying to squeeze him in. Cahill's dropped a bit now as well in price after suspension, so you could get a bit of value out of that. Goals in him, I think he scored 6 last season, so Alonso would be my number 1 pick from the Chelsea defence, and Cahill would probably be number 2 then. I'm probably actually just going to add him to the watch list as well, even though Alonso is my preference. There you go, 6 goals last season. I don't think any other defender got as many as that. Midfielders, Hazard's the obvious one. He's on the watch list, but as I say, I need to see a bit of form and fitness from him before I think about bringing him in. Apart from that, there's nobody really in the midfield who jumps out at me. Underperforming really, the likes of Willian. Pedro hasn't done an awful lot. He's an injury out now as well. So Morata's on my watch list already. Didn't do anything against Arsenal, but 3 goals and 5. The stats are good, so he remains a good option. Good as well. You would probably expect Chelsea to score against City. That's the only real tough fixture there. So he is a good option for the next few weeks. But as I say, I'm happy at the moment with Kane and Lukaku, so I'm not looking to bring in another big striker just yet. Keeping a close eye on Morata. That's Chelsea covered. As I say, I want to get through this as quickly as I can. Just focus on the content rather than dragging it on too much. Palace, I didn't click on them last week. I'm just going to click into them for 1 player this week. I mean, they haven't scored this season, so why would I add any of them to the watch list? The only player that is of slight interest at all is Loftus-Cheek. Watching Match of the Day at the weekend, he was impressive again, which he has been most weeks on Match of the Day. He hasn't got any returns yet, but if Palace do start to play some football, I would expect Loftus-Cheek to be in and around the goals, just from what I've seen. And at 4.5, we tend not to consider 4.5 midfielders very often, but I think he's underpriced at 4.5. And I wouldn't let that put you off bringing him in if you've, say, got another 4.5. A lot of people think, oh, I don't want to have 2 4.5 players. But if it's a player like Loftus-Cheek or Tom Carroll who are, joining in the attack and are a goal threat and can get assists, why not have 4.5 midfielders? I didn't realise how tough they were away and Chelsea at home. So really, you're looking at Palace possibly after 8 games having no wins, possibly not even any draws. They could be on 0 points after 8 games. They're really up against it this season. So I would wait and see how Loftus-Cheek performs in those 3 fixtures, and then I would probably be looking at him from game week 9 onwards when things ease up a little bit. But he's the only Palace player that's of any interest. He's got the talent. So let's see if he can turn it into goals and assists in the coming weeks. I just want to make sure I added him to the watch list there. I'm not sure if I did. Yeah, he's on it. Next up is Everton, and I'm actually not going to click on Everton because I already mentioned I removed Rooney from the watch list and Ayer all season. There's no one there that interests me whatsoever. I need to see improvement both defensively and in attack before I look at any of their players, because I'm definitely not going to be bringing any of them in the next for game week 6. Huddersfield. Just going to have a quick look in here. The form's dropped off a little bit after their very good start. I removed Schindler from the watch list, so I'm not really interested in any of the other defenders. I've got Aaron Moy. I brought him in game week 2. He got his goal, and he's done nothing since. I said after he got his goal in game week 2 that anything else from him would be a bonus, so I'm probably going to hold him this week for Burnley. This is wearing thin with Moyes. Impressive as he was in the first game or 2, he hasn't. I mean, Huddersfield in general haven't really been as impressive. So he's probably a player that I'll probably be looking to move on pretty soon. But I'd probably keep him for Burnley and see if he can get anything. I've got other priorities that I want to move, transfers that I want to do this week. So Moy's probably going to keep his place. At my team with Moy this week, I actually probably have a decision to make whether to start Moy or Carroll. Moy's away to Burnley and Carroll is at home to Watford. So speak about that decision in Friday's video. It's pretty 50-50 at the moment. So as I say, tune in for Friday's one and you'll find out which of Moy and Carroll I actually start for the weekend. Nobody else really there. Tom Ince, he's not doing it. He's got the stats, but he's not doing it in fantasy. So I'm not really interested in him. So this Belgian guy, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. His first name, whatever that is. Laurent. Not much easier, but he started ahead of Mooney or Meunier, however you want to say it, at the weekend. He scored as well. He's a big guy like Meunier, so he probably suits Huddersfield's style of play. He got his goal now, so whether he keeps his place ahead of Meunier, I don't know. There's competition there now up front for Huddersfield, both of them, and just kind of see how it plays out, who's going to play each week. That's Huddersfield covered. Next, I'm looking at Leicester. Vardy's already on the watch list, so I'm just going to have a look to see if there's anyone else there. Iheanacho started at the weekend. I think that's his first start of the season. Not really interested in him until he bangs in a few goals. Midfield, Mahrez is too expensive for what he's doing. There's nobody else really there. Defensively, Fuchs missed out because of some kind of eye injury. He should be back. He should be back for game week 6. Maguire, fault for the goal at the weekend. Though I'm pretty sure he's already on my watch list. I just want to make sure he is, because he is a player I'd be interested in a few weeks' time. He's a big threat from set pieces. He's got plenty of goals in him. He's got 1 already this season. I would expect Maguire to get about 5 goals this season. So he's in my thoughts. I'm just going to have a look at the fixtures. They're not too bad, but as I say, it's probably a couple of weeks away from me bringing him in. Hopefully he can cut out the mistakes as well. He's my pick of the Leicester defenders. None of the others really interest me. Huth's probably going to come back in soon. I would expect Huth probably to come in from Morgan whenever he's fit, so probably avoid Morgan there as well. Schmeichel, he's 5 million. There's just so many good options at 4.5 million, so I'm not really interested in Schmeichel. Liverpool struggled against Burnley without Mane, which so often is the case. Their form team seems to drop off when Mane's out. He's so important to the team. One of my golden rules in fantasy is I never buy a Liverpool defender. I'm sticking by that so far this season. None of those interest me. They just concede too many goals. But Firmino, as I say, I'll keep him probably for another week or two and then probably reevaluate things with him. Salah, as I mentioned earlier, he's my number 1 pick from the Liverpool team this season. There's a very good chance he'll be in my wildcard squad whenever that may be. Very, very impressed by him this season. He's one of those players. He's probably the one player that I don't own, but I probably won't be bringing him in this week either. As I say, I've got other priorities. Probably moving Daniels on, or looking at maybe bringing in a City player. I'm not sure. Coutinho, I said, came back, but I need to see a bit of form from him before I go near him. Lallana's probably due back soon. Again, no real interest in him though in fantasy terms. Mane, I think he's got 1 more game. He's got a 3-game ban, but one of them's in the cup, so I'm pretty sure he'll be back in game week 7 for Newcastle. Watch list, he's not, but he should be, because he's one of those players that should always be on your watch list if he's not in your team. The kind of things with the watch list with players who are suspended, it's easy to kind of miss them when they come back from injury if you're kind of working off a watch list. So it's good to keep them on the watch list even when they are suspended or injured. So then you don't kind of miss out on them when they do come back. Sturridge, pretty sure Sturridge started at the weekend. Yeah, played 90 minutes, no goals. I mean, there's no interest in him because once Mane comes back, he's probably going to be back on the bench again. That's Liverpool covered as well. Next up, City. So City are the team in form. 15 goals in their last 3 games, if you can include the Champions League. Just going to grab a quick drink of water. Talking too much. So yeah, City. I don't have any City players. I said Salah's a player that I own. Salah's a player that I don't own who I'd like to own. City are a team that I don't have any players from who I probably would like to have someone from. I had De Bruyne for the first 3 game weeks, and we all know what happened there. Once you sell him, he gets 3 assists. So I won't be rushing back to him because, I mean, he produced a good the last 2 weeks, but who's to say Pep could play him centre half again? So I'm not really interested in De Bruyne at the moment. The thing about City is over the last few seasons, you never associate them with clean sheets, but they've got quite a few this season. I'm just looking. They've got 1, 2, 3 out of 5, which is pretty good for City going on last season. So Ederson's making a difference in goal for sure. No, I'm not really interested in any premium goalkeepers, but it's the defenders that he's having an impact on the defenders because they're keeping clean sheets. Walker and Mendy are the obvious ones because they're the wing backs and they get forward. Mendy's already on my watch list. I'd add Walker to the watch list as well. He's got back-to-back assists as well as back-to-back clean sheets. So 9 points and 10 points. So what's that? 19 points in the last 2 game weeks. So he has to be on the watch list. It's just financially for those two, they're very expensive. If I was going for a City defender, I mean, Stones is probably only playing because Company's out. So I probably wouldn't go near Stones. I actually wouldn't go near Stones anyway because last season was just... I know we shouldn't really look back on last season's... We shouldn't really judge transfers on last season because every season is a new start for players and managers alike. So I just don't like Stones anywhere near my fantasy team. There's just too many scars there. And I mean, there is always a rotation threat with him as well. Even, I mean, there's been times in the past where Company and Stones and Otamendi have all played, and then the next week Stones is on the bench, just depending on the formation Pep sets up with. So if I'm going for a cheaper City defender, it would be Otamendi. 5.6. Scored at the weekend. He's always a threat from set pieces. I know he likes a booking and a big challenge as well, but I think he is a good option. He's one I'm definitely thinking about. He's a player I don't think I've ever owned him in fantasy, but he's on the watch list now. As I say, City are actually keeping clean sheets this season. And I mean, they're scoring backfuls of goals, and the goals are coming from everywhere. So there's no reason why Otamendi can't score 4 or 5 goals this season. Fixtures are good. They've got Chelsea away in 7, but aside from that, they've got Palace, Stoke, and Burnley, and West Brom. So, as I say, I don't have any City players, and I really, really want to get one. So, I don't know if it'll be a defender or an attacker, but there's a very good chance I'll be getting one of them soon. I don't know if it'll be this week. I'll think about that during the week. But Otamendi's definitely an option. Silva he was once the forgotten man of fantasy, and he's back with a bang this season. 4 assists now. I just can't see myself going there though, just with Pep and rotation and Champions League, everything else. I guess if he scored a goal or 2, I'd probably be more interested, but for now, I'm not really. As I said, I'm not going to go back to De Bruyne just yet. Sterling's doing well. He's got 3 goals, but again, rotation. Again, look how many midfielders are in that squad. So it's really defensively with the likes of Otamendi or Mendy or Walker. I'm looking at Aguero and Jesus. Aguero got 20 in game week 5. Jesus has 6. As I say, next week it could be flipped. Jesus could have the hat-trick. Aguero could have 2 points. A lot of people are going to be jumping on Aguero now, and I mean, there's worse players to jump on. So I mean, by all means, go for it. He's got the form. 4 goals and 2 assists in his last 2 games. Both games too, which is worth noting because Jesus has been coming off early. It's this one that's always the worry, the 24 minutes starting on the bench, because I've mentioned Pep already. He's just an absolute nightmare when it comes to fantasy. So I'm always quite reluctant now with Aguero. It's just financially as well. He's more expensive than Jesus. City striker anytime soon. I'm still on this man. Even though he's been coming off early, I still think he's Pep's #1 striker. And he's cheaper than Aguero, so he allows $1 million elsewhere in the team as well. So very high on my watch list. Both of them are on the watch list. Well, Jesus is anyway. I think I need to add Aguero now. So, but as I say, I'm in favour of Jesus at the moment still. Next up, United. My team. They're performing well. Another 4-0 win. I think that's 3 4-0 wins this season. So 5-5. I know a lot of people got rid of him this week. He produced the goods again. He doesn't play very well in games, but he still gets the goals. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking for in a striker. I don't want him to be getting man of the match on Sky Sports. I'm looking at goals and assists, and if you can get those for me, I'm keeping him. And I mean, there you go. 5 games, 5 goals. What more do you want from a striker? I know he's expensive, but he's producing the goods, so I see absolutely no reason to move him on. There's talk now that he might not be on penalties anymore. Matt being the penalty taker at the weekend, even though he wasn't on the pitch. So Martial took the late penalty. Doesn't bother me too much. And I used to always focus on penalty takers, but I mean, the thing with penalty takers, and we've seen it with Lukaku already this season, they can just as likely miss as they do scores. So there's always potential there for minus points. So 3 because of his penalty miss. So with a striker who scores goals, I don't really mind that they're not on penalties, because that way they can't get minus. Happy with Big Rom, and I'm hoping I'll be able to keep him for the season. If he keeps going the way he's going, I really don't see any reason to sell him at any point, given how well United have been playing. Mkhitaryan, very happy with him as well. I brought him in game week 3, an assist in game week 3, and now he's got his first goal. So that's another transfer that's paid off for me. I'm pretty happy to stick with him as well. Fixtures are kind of mixed, but United have been playing very well, so they can beat anyone. I really like Jones at 5.1, but I'm 0.1 million short of going Daniels to Jones. Fantasy aside, I've been very impressed with Jones this season. I think he's been one of our best players. He looks really, really solid defensively. And, I mean, he's probably got goals in him as well at some point. So, just in a United defence at 5.1 million, I think they've got 4 clean sheets out of 5. So, I mean, that's a bargain. 5.1 for a team who've got 4 clean sheets out of 5. And there's probably plenty more clean sheets to come. Matic is the key in that, really, sitting in front of the back 4. He gives them so much protection. I said Phil Jones is one of the best United players this season so far. I'd put Matic number one. Aside from fancy terms, I've absolutely no idea why Chelsea sold Matic to us, because he's been absolutely immense in midfield, and he could win us a title. That's how good I rate him, and how important he's been to us so far this season. You see the likes of Mkhitaryan, Pogba, Lukaku scoring the goals, but a lot of that's coming from Matic in centre midfield and the protection. He doesn't just protect. What impresses me is his range of passing. When he gets the ball, he very rarely gives it away, and he creates it. He builds attacks. He was a attractive fantasy option. Anyway, back to fantasy, getting away from United. De Gea obviously remains a very good option. I'm happy enough with my cheaper goalkeepers. I'd rather spend the money elsewhere. For an absolute stunner. But again, 6.5 million when you can get Phil Jones for 5.1. I much prefer Jones at that price. Ashley Young started at left back at the weekend, so I mean the likes of Shaw, Blind, and even Darmian now, it's just stay away from them. I think Martial only played 2 minutes and he scored. 2 minutes. I mean, he's played very little football this season. He's got 3 goals and assist. So Rashford's kind of struggled in the last few games, but I do expect both of them to continue to alternate. So near Rashford or Martial, because they're probably going to share minutes. Mata's been getting more game time this season as well. 4 out of 5 starts, and I think he hit the post from a free kick. He's could be on penalties, 7 million. Could be an option. Again, with Mata, Mourinho has so many options in midfield, and we know from before that he's probably not the biggest fan of Mata for whatever reason. We don't really know. There's always a chance Mata can find himself on the bench any given game week, so it's just risky. But he's definitely worth keeping an eye on now that he might be on penalties. Up front, Lukaku, Rashford, no interest in Rashford, especially when he's kind of playing out wide and he's a striker in fantasy. Moving on, I've got Elliott in goal and Ritchie in midfield, and I'm very happy with those two. They both offer great value. Newcastle have been promoted side. Lascelles is already on the watch list. If I was looking to bring in a Newcastle defender, he's the one I'd be looking at. He's a big threat from set pieces, and he's a very good defender as well. So Newcastle are capable of keeping more clean sheets. And Mbemba's back on the scene now. Again, at 4 million. We always want 4 million starting defenders. He's back on my watch list. Whether he keeps his place long term, I'm not really sure. There's another happy birthday request. Mbemba. So Mbemba, yeah, 4 million. If you don't have a Newcastle defender or goalkeeper, Mbemba could be a good option. It's just, I don't know how long this guy Dummett's out for. I think he's the left back. That's probably why Mbemba's got his place. So unknown return date, hamstring injury. You check out Ben Dinnery maybe for more information on Dummett. But Mbemba looks good for now. I've got Ritchie. Atsu got his goal. First goal of the season, yeah. Goal and assist now at 5 million. He's another player who offers good value. I'm not going to add him to my watch list just because I've got Ritchie. I'm never going to bring in 2 Newcastle midfielders, so I'm happy with Ritchie. But if you don't have a Newcastle midfielder or attacker, make sure Atsu's on your watch list because he's very good value. Apart from that, Hosselu, I think, is already on my watch list. I think I already said he had an absolute shocker at the weekend. He should have had a hat-trick. Missed so many chances. But he remains a good option. He's getting the chances, so that's the main thing. So he's going to put them away before long. He stays on my watch list. I'm never going to triple up on Newcastle, though. I've got Elliott and Ritchie, so I'm going to bring in Hosselu while I've got those two. I don't like tripling up on a team like Newcastle. No disrespect to Newcastle, but I only tend to triple up on the bigger sides. Again, sorry, Newcastle fans. Southampton next. Southampton are really struggling to score goals, so I've got no interest in any other midfielders or strikers. I mean, just quickly, Gabbiadini was benched at the weekend. Gabbiadini should be benched every weekend for what he did to us last season. Long started up front. I mean, I've said it a couple of times on Twitter. They really need to get Charlie Austin fit and playing, because I don't know if the manager's going to like Charlie Austin, but in my opinion, if Charlie Austin plays football, he scores goals. I mean, it makes sense to get him in the Southampton team. Whether it's up front on his own or with the likes of Gabbiadini or Long, I don't know. But I mean, I'm a fantasy manager, so I can't really say. But if I was a Southampton manager and Charlie Austin was fit, he'd be up front in my team every week. And let's hope he can get starting again, because 6.3 million, he can be a really, really good cheap third striker. be my third cheap striker of choice all day long if he was playing every week. Davis scored. No real interest in him, though. He doesn't score often enough. Tadic, Tadic has just been Tadic again this season. Doing nothing. Has all the stats, does nothing. He's just an absolute nightmare. I was close to going with him in game week 1. I went for Ward Prowse instead. But yeah, no, I'm staying away from Tadic. Go on my watch list. He would need to score in 3 games in a row or something like that for me to have any interest in him. Defensively, not a clean sheet. They've got 3 clean sheets in 5 now, so remains very, very attractive. Fixtures after United are very good, so if you're looking for a defender, Southampton is a good place to go. Bertrand and Cedric, the right back and left back. Defence, Wesley, I like to call him. He looks a good option, 5 million. He looks like he's going to keep his place. 0.0% ownership, so there's a differential if you want one. Southampton will keep clean sheets. He looks a good player. And Van Dijk is probably going to come in sooner rather than later to partner him in central defence, so that should increase the chances of clean sheets for Southampton even more. He's actually a player I'm going to add to the watch list because when he comes back, we've seen before he can score goals. I watched him a lot in his time at Celtic, and I think he scored about 10 goals when he was in Scotland. I know it's Scotland, but back in the net, and as a defender, he can score goals. He scored 3 2 seasons ago. He got 1 last season, but then he didn't play as many minutes. He's a defender who I think should be scoring 5 goals at least a season. So when he comes back, I'll be keeping a close eye on him. And with defensive double-ups, Southampton is a team I would have no problem doubling up on in defence because they've been very good defensively. They've got a very good record of clean sheets. So, as I say, Van Dijk is of interest to me when he comes back. Forster's a good option in goal. Again, it's the price that puts me off because I'm happy with the options at 4.5. I've got Foster and Elliott, who I'm happy with for the time being. You've got the likes of Pope now at Burnley, who's a good option. Fabianski's probably the best of the 4.5 million options, in my opinion. So I like to go cheap on the goalkeeper, so I'm not really interested in Forster. But if you like to spend 5 million, he's probably one of the best 5 million options there is. Get through these last couple of teams as quick as I can. Spurs, I've got 3 Spurs, so I'm not going to be adding any of them to the watch list. I don't think. I'm just going to have a quick look. Again, Sanchez, the guy Sanchez played again, so can be a bit of a differential for those who need one. He's only owned by 0.2%. He's probably going to play every week in centre defence. Spurs are the best defensive team in the league, so in my opinion anyway. They were last season, so he's a good option at 6 million. Aurier, I would expect to be the right wing back of first choice, but until I see that, I'm not really interested. Ben Davies, hopefully he'll come back in for game week 6. He should, if it's just a knock. Son played left wing back. I don't know why you play Son at left wing back when he's so good going forward. But Spurs wing backs attack so much anyway, so I can see why they did it. But hopefully Davies will come back in there in game week 6 and continue doing what he's been doing for us. Apart from that, there's no one else. I've got Kane, I've got Eriksen, so that's me happy with Spurs. Ali does remain a good option. If you don't have Spurs midfield, don't rule Ali out, but Eriksen is the man for me at the moment. Stoke, I've got Wimmer and Choupo-Moting on my watch list already. I'm just going to have a quick look to see if there's anyone else I'm interested in. I'm going to check the fixtures for Stoke as well. Wimmer's very cheap, 4.4 for a team like Stoke who are capable of clean sheets, especially with the likes of Zuma and Butland in defence. So fixtures are not great though, so it'll be a couple of weeks' time before I look at the likes of Wimmer. Shaqiri scored again. I think that's 2 for the season. No, it's actually just 1. He's got a goal and an assist. The thing about him though, it's consistency. He needs to put it together for a run of games. He also needs to stay injury-free, so I still probably prefer Choupo-Moting for a bit cheaper over Shaqiri for the time being. your man Hesse's done nothing since he scored against Arsenal. So I know people probably jumped on him, but it's never a good idea to jump on a player after 1 week, and Hesse's a good example of that. Up front, I mean, they're very light up front, Stoke. I know they've been playing the likes of Choupo-Moting and the likes of Hesse up front, so maybe they're not as light as they look and fancy. But Juve's been playing, I think he's been playing right wing back at times. Crouch he's a legend, but he's past it, so he's not really an option. And Berahino, I mean, typical, he's been hyped up over the last couple of years and he just doesn't do it on the pitch, so no interest there. Swansea, very good point against Spurs. Again, I said Fabianski is probably the best of the 4.5 million goalkeepers. If you're looking for a new goalkeeper, looking at this man, he's on my watch list. I don't tend to keep goalkeepers on my watch list, but he's one I think is worthy of a place at the moment, given his performances. Fixtures, the next 3 are not too bad. And as we've seen, Swansea are capable of keeping clean sheets against the likes of Spurs, so they can keep clean sheets against anyone. He's definitely a very good option at 4.5. Defensively, I still favour Nocton at 4.5. Pretty sure he's already on my watch list. If I'm selling Daniels this week, Nocton's definitely going to be one of the players I'm considering. Fernandes, again, 4.5 as well. He's another good option. If you want to pay a bit more, Mawson's another defender who should score 5 goals a season. He scored a lot of goals throughout his career. Looking at stats on Mawson last season, when he started scoring for Swansea, I think he had, in about 46 games, he had like 10 goals in his career. So across like international and times in championship and things like that. So he's a player who's always scored goals and will continue to do so. But I just prefer the likes of Nocton for 0.5 cheaper. I've got Tom Carroll. I'm very happy with him. For 4.5, you're not expecting much from him. He's a bench player most weeks, but he's getting involved from open play and set pieces. So good run of fixtures. And as I say, I might end up starting him this week. And hopefully that will be the week where he does something. Nobody else really there that interests me. I removed Abraham from the watch list earlier. Boney, it's going to take him time. He's building up his fitness slowly. I mean, he's singing. I seen a video of him today singing his own song. I'm not going to sing it. I'm not going to do that to you, but the song goes, Wilfred Boney scores some goals for Swansea. I mean, he should really start scoring them before he's singing the song. So he should, I mean, less concentration on the singing and the social media side of things and start doing it on the pitch. Again, like Austin, at 6 million, around the 6 million bracket, if he starts scoring, he will be a player I'll be definitely looking at in a couple of weeks' time. That song I mentioned as well, I listened to it this morning and it's been stuck in my head all day. So if you don't want a song stuck in your head, don't watch the video. But it is a good song. 3 teams left, the 3 Ws, Watford, West Brom, West Ham. So Watford got absolutely mauled by Man City. I mean, any team could get mauled by City at the moment, so I wouldn't really read into that too much. Look at that. They've got 4 defenders out injured at the moment or whatever, suspension. So you can see why they got mauled by City, the form that City are in. I think they still offer good value defensively. Kiko's the guy I was looking at, but he missed the City game. 8-11 in his previous 3 games. And look at that, he's in the bonus 3 games in a row. Fixtures are not ideal, but I'm going to add him to the watch list again because if he gets back in the team after injury, he's the player I'd probably go to in the Watford defence. Chalobah's already on the watch list, another 4.5 million who offers good value. So you've got Tom Carroll, Loftus-Cheek, and I put Chalobah in there with those 3 as well as 3 players who offer good value for what they're priced. Richarlison, need to see more from him before I put him back on the watch list. There's nobody else really there. Even up front, there's no one. So we'll move on to West Ham. It's actually West Brom first, probably, is it? Yeah, West Brom. So typical Tony Pulis result, 0-0 at the weekend. I started Elliott, of course, but I mean, as I said, 2-point swing. I didn't mind too much. Foster, I think that's 3 clean sheets in 5, if I'm right. Yeah, so yeah, 3 clean sheets out of 5, which is, you can't expect much more really from a team like West Brom. Fixture-wise, I'm going to have a quick look at it. Arsenal next, so I'm probably going to play Elliott in game week 6 and bench Foster for Arsenal. But then after that, it's not too bad. I mean, they've got City again, but I'm probably going to continue rotating Foster and Elliott. My initial plans when I brought those two in game week 1 was I've had planned just to start Foster every week and just leave Elliott on the bench. But Newcastle have impressed me defensively, and Elliott's impressed me as well as a goalkeeper. So I'm happy to play him some weeks. The likes of game week 6, I'll be playing Elliott again over Foster because I think they've got, is it Brighton? Yeah, they've got Brighton away, so I don't expect Brighton to score too many goals this season. So I'll be happy to start Elliott in that one as opposed to Foster against Arsenal. So I don't really see Foster keeping a clean sheet against Arsenal. When it comes to goalkeepers, clean sheets are number 1 for me. I don't really tend to take save points into consideration too much. Clean sheets is number 1. That's what we're looking for. Defensively, I'm reluctant to double up on West Brom defensively with Foster because it was painful last season. It hurt me so many times having to double up. So I'm not really interested in any other defenders at the moment. There's still a bit of uncertainty as to who's first choice there anyway. West Brom are a bit like Burnley. I'm not really interested in midfielders or attackers from these two teams because they just don't score enough goals. Nobody there interests me, so just going to finish up with West Ham, who surprisingly have 2 clean sheets in a row, which is unheard of for West Ham. Defenders picking up bonus points as well. I already mentioned Cresswell. He's on my watch list. He's the West Ham defender I'm looking at because he's on set pieces and he's playing wing back as well. Zabaleta's wing back as well, but he's getting on now as well. I mean, Cresswell's just a much better prospect, fancy-wise, in my opinion. Zabaleta likes to get booked as well. So Cresswell wins out there, easy. I've got Antonio on the watch list. I don't see myself bringing him in anytime soon, but he's good enough. His performances recently are good enough for the watch list. Arnautovic has dropped in price down to 6.9. I mean, that's the kind of player you will miss on your watch list if he's been suspended for a few weeks. And he can be a bit of a differential if he comes back in. But he didn't start. At least I don't think he started, having played 32 minutes. So I need to see more consistency, a bit of form, and more starts from him as well. Fixtures look not too bad there as well for West Ham. So let's see if they can keep up their decent form. But Antonio's the one on the watch list for the moment. I'm not really interested in Arnautovic until I see a bit more from him. I also don't like a player who's got a temper like Arnautovic because he can let you down any given week. Lanzini should be back soon. No real interest there either, though. I've got Hernandez on the watch list. Hernandez is a player I'll always be interested in because he's a goal scorer. Andy Carroll has played 2 games, 81 minutes in both games without picking up an injury, so miracles do occur. Can he make it 3? He's very cheap. He's 5.9. He's getting chances, but that's the thing about him. You can't trust him because you can pick up an injury in a warm-up or anything. So I would need to see about 10 games from him before I'd even consider him. And even at that, he's burned me in the past, so I'm very reluctant to go there. So Hernandez is the player that interests me. But if you've had a bad start and you're looking for a differential, Carroll could be a decent one if he can stay fit. So that wraps up the watch list update ahead of game week 6. As I say, this is something I do every week once I just find it makes it nice and easy for me then when I come to make my transfers towards the end of the week. I just jump into my watch list. I've only got 36 players. Saves me time looking through all the team sheets. So any transfer I make this week, someone on the watch list will come in. So easier. I like having all the players I'm interested in one place. I'm going to wrap up the video. So If you like the video, hit the like button. That I don't have on my watch list that you think maybe I should have, leave a comment. Maybe you can ask me why I don't have them on the watch list. There might be players. When you do these kind of videos, it's very easy to miss one or two players. So if I've missed anyone that you think should be on the watch list, leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you there on it and give you a reason why, or I'll add them to the watch list if I've missed them myself. There was a player last week I missed. I can't remember who it was, but I added them in after I did the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. The plan is to do 2 videos a week. At the moment, content is the most important for me, to get good content out there, and I'll worry about everything else later. I've bought the microphone, webcam's coming next, and then I'll look at graphics and things like that, presentation, making it a lot easier, or a lot better, easier on the eye and things like that. So, as I say, concentrate on getting some content out there first, just to gauge the interest as well. And hopefully I'll move into live streams in the coming weeks as well, where you can jump on and ask me questions. Probably be to do live streams on Fridays before a game week starts. So for now, I'm going to do I'm going to update the watch list every week. So I'll do it on a Monday if I can. If there's a Monday night fixture, sometimes I might leave the watch list update until the Tuesday. There should be a video at the beginning of the week and on Fridays as well. So in the Friday video this week, I'll be looking at my transfer options. I'll hopefully make the transfer live on the video as well. My reasons behind what I do. I haven't taken any hits this season. This week might be the week where I take one. So tune into the video to see whether that's the way I go. What else am I left to say before I go? So yeah, like the video. If you found this video in any way helpful or interesting, give it a like. Give it a retweet on Twitter as well if you can. If you've enjoyed it, just to help get the word out there that I'm doing some of these videos. You can find me always on Twitter at FPL General. I'm always open for interaction there. My DMs are always open as well. I do find it hard to get back to everyone with the amount of followers I have now. It is very hard to get back to everyone. I'm quite busy as well with other projects, so I'll get back to you. But one place where I will always get back to you is on this YouTube channel. So if you leave a comment on this video or any future videos, I will get back to you at some point there. So if I don't get back to you on Twitter on something, get me on YouTube and I'll definitely get back to you there. I'm on Instagram as well, at FPL General there as well. I post my team there every week. So if you use Instagram, you can get me there as well. Apart from that, all I'm left to say is enjoy the rest of your week. Don't do anything rash. Be patient as always. And don't forget there's cup action as well. The Carabao Cup or whatever you call it, the League Cup's on during the week. So there's always a chance of injuries and suspensions to come from the. I sometimes forget the players can get suspended in league games from sendings off in the cup game. So leave your transfers until Friday if you can. Always keep an eye on the price change websites as well. Just the likes of transfers. If you're kind of tight for a transfer, say if I wanted to do Daniels to Jones and I actually had exactly enough money this week, you need to keep an eye on the price changes to make sure you don't leave yourself snookered come Friday. You don't want to be 0.1 short. So sometimes you will have to make transfers early because of the price rises or price falls, but avoid it if at all possible. We've seen it last season. A lot of people brought in Kane due to that price rise, price fall thing, and then he got injured in the cup. So it forced people into -4s, which are never ideal if you don't want to make them. So yeah, so be patient. That's the number one thing I always say to people in fantasy is be patient with your transfers. Don't worry about players dropping 0.1. The most important thing I always say is to get points on the board. The points are most important. They're much more important than your team value. I know a lot of people like to build team value down the line, but it's never been an issue for me in the past. I mean, I finished in the top 1% for the last 4 seasons in a row, and I've never worried too much about team value. So I would much rather let a player drop 0.1 in a week to make sure I don't have to do a -4 on the Friday because of another player getting injured or anything else. So number one, be patient. I'm going to let you go. So as I say, if you find the video useful, Give it a like, give it a retweet, leave a comment as well, and I'll talk to you all on Friday for the next video.